Good afternoon. This is Rusty Safford doing his final video for his final paper, How Effective Communication is Within the Business Environment. Communication today comes in many different forms, and one of the things that we really have to look at is what type of communication is appropriate or what type of communication is needed for the situation that we're in. We're going to talk today about communication in the workplace, poor communication, impacts of technology and how that affects the overall message, and the end of pretty much the oral communication and how technology has completely changed the world and the way we actually interact and communicate with one another. And obviously I'll give you the conclusion and my final thoughts on how we're going to do things. One thing to really look at is communication in the workplace really takes a lot of different type of messages. You have emails, you have blogging, you name it, it's there in terms of communication. One thing you really have to understand is that there's really no such thing as over-communication. Giving the information needed in the workplace is very important, and how we drive decisions, how we are more like strategic managers in making business decisions. When it comes to communication, one of the things I realized in a couple of the articles is that morale and the way we treat others comes into play as well. The big aspect that we really have to look at is when dealing with the workplace is everything you do is based upon communication. Many companies have failed in this world due to the fact that they didn't know how to communicate upwards and downwards in terms of the two-way dialogue and the way we communicate today. An example would be the Home Depot, the company I currently work for, does a great job of inverting the pyramid in terms of putting the customers up top and putting the CEO at the bottom. And what it does is it creates an inverted type of message, so upwards and downwards type of communication. This obviously drives the comps and drives the overall sales of the company. Unfortunately, a previous employer that I used to work for that I really hold dear to my heart, I worked for 4 years, is Sears Holding, Kmart's RSC. Unfortunately, Eddie Lambert, the CEO of the company, didn't believe in communication. He didn't want to listen to the board of directors. He didn't want to overall look at the different aspects of the company, and all he wanted to do was drive stocks. Can't really do that in terms of driving profitability if you're not feeding the customers. So completely different spectrums, completely different extremes. One company's doing extremely well, one company's not, but everything that goes around is communication. One thing that we have to really look at again is poor communication and how that impacts the business. If I give you bad information or if I don't give you the whole information, it comes back as poor communication. I read an article on poor communication on how it actually based upon morale. Again, back to the overall relationship of the workplace. But it boosts around morale and how communication is impacting on the way we look at it today. Poor communication is not giving the complete message or honestly telling the truth or along those lines. So that really has a big impact and a major impact on the way we do things today. Technology today has completely revolutionized the way we do business. Instead of actually having a face-to-face communication, we'll now send a text message or a quick email. Which comes to be very important, as we read a lot in the Cantor and Meredith-Voss book, if I can say it correctly, sorry. And one of the things that we really have to look at is writing is impacting on who you are today. People look at your writing as representation of you, even though your tone and your language and all that might not be clear and concise in your writing, as it would be face-to-face. You really have to pay attention to what you are really saying and doing. This goes right into that next topic, the end of oral communication. Going forward in the way that we look at life and the way that we're moving forward, oral communication is ending. People are now breaking up, or people are building relationships based upon internet, based upon the World Wide Web, based upon blogging, you name it, Twitter, Facebook, all those kind of things. They'd rather not shake your hand and look at the old ways, even though that's the most beneficial way to learn and have that two-way dialogue and build that relationship. One thing that you really have to look at is technology has completely revolutionized the way we do things. Unfortunately, it's sad that we have come to this, but communication in the workplace has actually overtaken through technology. Whether it's through automated systems, whether it's through your deciding on how you're going to communicate an effective message, on the way you might actually personalize things. Instead of actually coming, shaking someone's hand, and talking to them, you're actually looking at more of I'll just send them a quick email type of mentality. It's short, it's concise, but it takes the human element out of it. That really damages the company, it really damages the morale. So companies that can actually look at not only the financial factors of the company, but also look at the human side of the company, tend to be very prosperous and have that whole circle in terms of the way they do business. Like I said, again, going back to the Home Depot, they do a very good job of completing the circle. When you start missing circles or when you start not doing things correctly, it ends up causing damage to obviously the reputation and the perception of the company, which is very important today in the market. Conclusion, and the way I look at things nowadays, it's technology is everything. The faster the computer, the faster we can do things, the cost per carton goes down, the more profitability we have in the market. It's unfortunate that we've gone to this way and we've deviated from the old ways, but times have changed, and with change comes pain, I guess. So one thing we have to really look at in wrapping everything up is making sure that we always focus on communicating in a most professional manner, keep everything in a positive light, push everything forward to make sure that your representation of the company looks the way it needs to look, and believe in one another and trust one another again, and go back to the old ways. Use technology as a beneficial factor and not pretty much bad. So communication in a whole, there's so much that I've learned from it, and one thing I've really truly taken away from the whole aspect of this is stay professional and make sure that everything is precise and perfect the way you want to do it. This is my final video. I just want to tell you thank you for everything.